A staggering 64% of those surveyed perceived the level of morale in the WA police force as poor. Are you denying that low morale in the police force is a significant contributor to the record resignations from the force?
I think the morale of the Western Australian Police Force, rightly, is very high.
My question is to the Minister for Police. I refer to the WA Police Union survey released in May this year, which found out of the 2,000 members that participated, a staggering 64% of those surveyed perceived the level of morale in the WA police force as poor. And I ask, what plans have you put in place to combat that reported poor morale situation? Has funding been allocated to improve morale in the WA police force? And if you have allocated funding, how much funding has been allocated for that task?
The Minister for Police.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the member for the question. Member, I didn't do the survey. I have no access to the survey questions or the nature of the survey, other than I do know that it was the vast majority of police officers didn't respond to that survey. So whether or not it's reflective of the views of police officers is probably the question. I would say I don't think it is. I think the morale of the Western Australian Police Force, rightly, is very high. They have acquired a reputation for exceptional policing in recent years. The Western Australian community appreciates our Western Australian Police Force probably more than ever before in the state's history. Their contribution to getting this state so successfully through the pandemic was extraordinary. People acknowledge that. They appreciate the contribution by police. And they recognise that at the same time as confronting a challenge the likes of which no police officer on the planet had worked through before, and doing that very, very successfully in a collegiate manner, which took the most of the people other than the ones out the front today and yourselves with them, the Western Australian Police Force also completed some extraordinary policing and resolved crimes in a rapid fashion in a manner that probably has never been seen before, because increasingly, as a consequence of the leadership provided to the Western Australian Police Force, they have adopted technology, they've applied it, they've brought together intelligence and operations in a manner not seen before, and they have successfully resolved some very high-profile crimes in a very short time frame, and they continue to do so. We all know the Nick Martin murder, the Cleo case, but more recently, that murder that took place in the northern suburbs recently was resolved very rapidly. It's a tragic death of an old gentleman riding a bike late at night on the roads. Within 13 hours, the police had identified the individual responsible. And it wasn't an accident. That person didn't give themselves up. They were found by the police because of our exceptional policing provided by the Police Force of Western Australia. I think they rightfully should enjoy a very high morale at the moment. I think they do. The ones I talk to, and I talk to a lot, confirm that they have got good morale. Perhaps you could suggest something I might do to change the view of some people who make comment with regard to the police and are determined to talk down our Western Australian Police Force, because I don't agree with them.
Supplementary.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Minister, are you denying that low morale in the police force is a significant contributor to the record resignations from the force?
The Minister.
Thanks, Madam Speaker. Can I just reflect back on the case I referred to in the northern suburbs? That's an alleged murder. That's still before the court. So I misspoke there. But they found a suspect very rapidly. Can I just address this matter of resignations, because it is an important point to make. There are more police officers now than ever before by a long way. When you were in office, the last term of office that you were in office for, when you were responsible for recruiting police officers, the entire Western Australian Police Force grew from between 2012 and 2016 from 1,300, it recruited 1,306 officers and there were 1,211 resignations. That is a net increase of 95 officers under your last 5 years in office. Under our 5 years in office, we have recruited in the order of 1,800 officers between 2017 and 2022. The headcount on the 28th of February, when we pretty much took office, was 6,416. At the end of September, it was 6,897. That's 481 net growth. There are 481 more officers than when we started. Not only that, there are currently 155 officers at the Academy. I'll be going to another graduation next week, and another 50 plus officers will be graduating. There was an expo, Jobs Expo on the weekend, which attracted, since it occurred, 120 plus applications from Western Australians. And as you saw, we had many months ago, commenced negotiations to ensure that Western Australia was the first jurisdiction in the country to have a labour agreement that enables us to advertise in New Zealand, Ireland and the UK for qualified police officers who will only require a transition course half the length of a... I beg your pardon? So
They are. Numbers are going down.
So there are... So you understand, there are 481 more officers today than when we took office. That's going that way. Going down is that way. Going up is that way. 1,800 officers have been recruited. There are 150 plus at the Academy. There'll be another graduation next week. We are taking action to continue to recruit locally, but we have the best economy in the world, probably. I'd prefer to have that challenge, and we have set our bar very high, not at the 95 net growth over 5 years that you set. We've set 10 times that, because we want to do the right thing by the Western Australian community and grow our police force by a record number, 15% over the term of government. I reckon we'll get there. We've got the funding, the police force have got the resources, they're out there campaigning in every possible way. There's only one negative element to this whole scenario, and that is you going out there criticising the Western Australian Police Force and telling people it's not a good job. I refuse to accept that claim. I respect and admire people who serve in uniform and make sacrifices on behalf of the community, and I've got a little bit of experience in it myself, and I think the Western Australian Police Force is a great job, and we're attracting great people, and I wish you would stop being so negative about them.